welcome to yet another exciting episode of Candid Conversations with Legal Pay. Legal Pay is India's first third-party litigation funder, the largest in domain. We also work extensively in insolvency market, and this is a small initiative from our end to interact with industry leaders and experts and explore what has been their journey. Today, we have a very special guest, Rahul, with us. He's an expert in alternative dispute resolution processes as well as civil and commercial litigations. He specializes in insolvency and bankruptcy practice very well and has thus far represented corporate debtors, financial creditors before several national company law tribunals, NCLT matters. He has successfully handled complex commercial transaction as well as proceedings for various courts and tribunals. He's managing partner at Vis Legal Law Practice. Welcome, Rahul. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking our time speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Kashish, for the introduction and giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Looking forward for interaction.
Absolutely, Rahul. Before we begin our conversation, and this is a very special one for us, just want to understand for our viewers, how do you ended up pursuing law and at a place or a stage where you are? I mean, it's for a majority of the people that we have interacted with, everyone referred this to as a chance or a luck. How was the journey for you?
So again, I fall under majority to some extent. I always wanted to become an architect, as I was very fascinated with the structures, the whole plan of creation till execution. So certain things which can start and complete in your, observation or under your supervision is something I was very keen to, get myself into. That didn't happen. Law happened. Thanks to some guidance, but I'm really enjoying this process and the entire journey, and I get to solve and execute a lot of things like what I was thinking as an architect I would do. So it's an exciting journey, exciting area of work. Every day, new challenges, new aspects, new situation, and a lot to learn also from them.
Oh, absolutely. How has been your experience with the IBC? I know there were multiple scenarios or multiple regulations coming up before IBC, but everybody anticipated IBC to be a game changer, which definitely there are pros and cons, and still the act is evolving and regulations are coming up almost every quarter or so. So, how has been your journey and your experience working in the insolvency market?
So, to my understanding, when IBC law was announced, I remember it was 16 December 2016. We were discussing the draft code, and we were looking at it as a bailout package, for the corporates. And the idea and angle was that when we were reading the law before it was, taken to NCLT for adjudication, and the different scenario which you saw in courts was it was used as a tool to go about, taking necessary proceedings to insolvency court to see to it that, the creditors can recover their dues. So, objective plus versus action, there is some gap today also which is seen, but I think finance ministry and adjudicating, members are trying to harmonize those paths. They are educating, and the whole segment is evolving that way around IP. So that's why the code has gone under major 4 to 5 amendments in short period of 5 years time frame. And in between, before lockdown, this NCLT National Company Law Tribunal was handling the most number of cases which were filed, be it recoveries, be it necessary insolvency pertaining ideal scenarios which were put forth. But I think it's going to further evolve. We are getting in the right direction to understand the meaning and the objective for bringing this code to ensure that we give a second chance to the corporate debtors to be in the system and deal with the situations of inability to pay debts or their liabilities, and at the same time save jobs for the employees and allow them to continue to work for which they were constituted or brought into existence. So it's a process which will continue to evolve, I believe, and we all as lawyers, parties are learning from it every day. We'll continue to do so for next few years at least.
No, absolutely, and it's a very strong journey, especially given the fact that IBC has been trying to, and as you rightly said, trying to evolve, and it's a long journey that we are trading, and how insolvency laws have progressed in the US UK domain. I think we are frankly moving towards the right direction. Changing our gears and moving to how litigation works in the entire domain in Indian context, and how third-party litigation funding can actually has or emerge as a very strong tool. Any thoughts on that? How third-party litigation funding has obviously we are aggressively involved in the area, but as a legal practitioner, what's your view on or the usefulness of a third-party litigation funding tool?
I think it is definitely going to be very critical for the litigant to get such support of financing. When we are in Bombay, or when we are in Mumbai, like city or Delhi or Pune or Bangalore or Hyderabad, the cost of litigation is no longer in the affordable range.
Yeah.
Sometimes we happen to hear statements like the litigation has become luxury kind of thing for those only who can afford. So
Yeah.
if you look at these situations, then definitely we require someone to come in and help the litigant, as long as there is no other foul play involved in that, and it's a pure transparent arrangement to support financially that litigant to go about asserting his or her rights. So definitely litigation funding is need of our, I believe. We have clear statutes and laws not restricting funding in any form in India. It's just the awareness, I believe, needs to be spread, and I think it's not that far that people will start exploring it. We can see that change thanks to Legal Pay and the team who are bringing that awareness in the system, and a lot of people are exploring their opportunities and options to take some support to have an effective legal representation for the court.
No, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. And all thanks to the support that we have received from the industry experts like yourselves. Taking it from the other side, legal assets and insolvency assets are very superior asset class for family offices and now wider investors at large. In India, it's still something that we provide to the investors as legal and insolvency asset classes. But your take or how these insolvency and legal assets, so legal assets in terms of how litigation financing can people can as a investor put in money and fight and recover money from being an investor into a case. Second, in terms of insolvency financing, how interim financing is a superior first right in terms of the payment, and still investors enjoy a lending rate 18 to 24 odd percent. So how does the entire both legal and insolvency assets can prove as a superior asset class? Obviously, India is evolving towards the same tenure, but can prove the superior asset class with non-market linked returns. What's your take on it, or has your being journey so far?
I definitely think that investors in India are exploring newer opportunities every day. Right from gold to real estate to stock to mutual fund, and now last few years have been buzzing about startup as a asset class also for investment. And you're bringing the options of insolvency as well as legal litigation funding products as an asset class for investment. So I think definitely people are getting interested in different options. They would want to also invest in certain thing which is not going to get impacted with what is happening in west, what is happening in at government central level. They want something which will manage and safeguard its own purpose also as a process. So if we talk about insolvency asset class or legal funding financing as an option, I think it's very self sustainable, as well as will not call for a lot of unnecessary interference or impact of external factors. So if those who are wanting to have options like this, wherein their investment can remain intact regardless of what is happening in government or in West or in be it Ukraine-Russia war or anything, so these scenarios will be apt for going for our options which you are suggesting. So I think it has definitely good potential to go about it, and the clarity with which one can enter into is absolutely clear. There is not much of risk, I personally feel, if you understand the process and are willing to spend more time in researching about it. So it's then not a rocket science to go into.
Absolutely, absolutely. Your take on how the entire litigation financing have evolved globally. Some thoughts on it, how it has scaled up globally, how you see India progressing towards the same parameters.
So, since I've been practicing in Mumbai, I have limited exposure about international litigation bit. But since 17, 18, we've been trying to, look for options for our clients who have, unfortunate litigation scenarios
Yeah.
in Singapore, then in Hong Kong and in London. So we came across so many options. If you are in London, in UK, or in Singapore, or in Australia, as third-party litigation funding companies
Yeah.
offering the support and solution. So there they have understood that the stakes which are involved, or the process which is opted by the parties at the time of entering into contract calls for these kind of expenditure. So they are bringing that solution also, and not just the solution. They bring in legal expertise if that is given as an option. They bring in their set of law firms which have helped their other clients to go about it. And I think in India also that requirement is there, that need is there. The arbitrators fees are now as per act, as in proportion and in ratio to your claim also. So
Yep.
if you have to spend money as per your claim amount, then you will have to have that mindset also to keep certain reserve funds ready for your legal costs and representation also. And if you have to match, and if you have international parties with whom you are having transactions, then you need to do the venue selection mindfully. All these actions will call for robust finance pertaining arrangements also, which you need to keep in mind. That's where I feel the India as a space is matching and going towards the international standards also about undertaking litigation services pertaining activities and dispute resolution scenarios. So as the cost part will also get matched, and then the financing will also be required. So definitely it will open up a lot of requirements going forward in the Indian market also.
No, no, absolutely, absolutely. Before we wrap this up, any piece of advice that you would give to young professionals who are either looking this from a practice area, or any investors who look this from an asset class perspective? What do a piece of advice from the experience that you have you would like to give to them?
So one thing I always try to discuss with my team members or those young professionals we happen to interact with, that it's high time that they should understand that the typical traditional practice is not going to be sustainable for them for longer run. The legal services, the definition of legal service is changing every year.
Yep.
Before COVID, after COVID, you have two eras now to deal with as a scenario as lawyer to go about it. So adoption of technology in all aspects is something which has become very important. Clients are no longer having that patience to chase you. You need to have automated processes. You need to bring clouds, Google solutions, CRM systems, ERP procedures to go about it. But the best part about young lawyers are they are young, and that's the upper hand we are having right now, because it's very easy for them to adopt something which they never had to, go in different directions for. So adoption of technology is being seen as immediate and effective adoption from the youngsters that is, and that has changed the equation for legal profession or fraternity drastically. The understanding with which they can handle crypto, blockchain, pertaining, situations, transactions, the great in-depth understanding they have. A lot of senior, lawyers or transaction lawyers will also take a lot of time to go about the use of technology or internet, which they have managed to, adopt into their work. Is something, the seasoned lawyers will, take more time to go with. So that factor, if they understand that, technology is something which they can easily take into their practice, then they'll have no reasons to anywhere else, and they can choose any field of law to then work on it, be it traditional aspects of areas or startups as a system, as a insolvency, bankruptcy, entertainment, media, environment. Many things are there, many avenues are open, and there is a lot of scope to grow in that.
No, no, absolutely. And I think your parting thoughts, and I think the summary was very well. The biggest advantage young professionals has is the age, and I think adoption to technology is something that I have seen that lawyers are adopting it very well. I mean, pre-COVID and post-COVID scenarios, especially in the legal fraternities, entirely different. Zoom meetings, turning up instead of in-person meetings. Obviously, there can't be a replica, and even the proceedings, everything happens. And many thanks to the judiciary and the entire legal system who has evolved very quickly in terms of the challenges that were faced. Thank you so much, Rahul, for taking out time speaking with us. It was a pleasure having you with us, and looking forward to interacting soon again.
Definitely. Thank you, Kashish, for this. Had a great time interacting with you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahul. Bye-bye.